Oh, yeah. This is a good experience for them.
Let's go ahead and call our meeting to order. It's our April 9th. The Manitowoc Public School District Board of Education meeting will start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll.
Christopher Abel.
Here.
Dick Hansen.
Here.
Matthew Phipps. Stacy Seldner.
Here.
Matthew Spalding.
Here.
Carrie Trask.
Here.
Tony Bostelica.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, we now have public input. Are there any more sheets that anyone has not turned in yet?
I think I'm gonna turn mine in.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah.
Sure, we're not around. Okay.
3.5.
I can't get through there.
Yeah, you can.
I used to be able.
You gotta push it forward.
That's
You got you.
I'm happy.
That'll push over for the 3.5. So we get through 3.
Okay, so because of the amount of people we have tonight, we'll do 3 minutes. And our first guest is Emily Shallow. Our next guest is Jason Johnson. Yeah, the podium is over here today, so you can get on the cameras.
Not a very loud person, and this is a lot for 3 minutes, so we'll try. Congratulations to those entrusted to hold high the selfless integrity and forthright transparency that is a necessitated foundation and requirement for all, for the quantifiable success of our students in our Manitowoc Public School District. The nobility and critical influence of this position is not a job everyone has the courage and mental and moral fortitude for. And I think I can safely speak for everyone in this room, and that we all sincerely hope a high standard of efficacy and accountability amidst selfless considerations maintains the status quo in our promising and newly organized district. As we should expect, now that the perceived need for politicking in a nonpartisan race has thankfully, hopefully come to an end, at least until the next election, we can again get back to focusing on facts and a much more mature and rational dialogue regarding the common denominators of concern the majority of us share. We can start by bringing to light the citable facts and concerns of this recent election. On April 2nd, our community held an election. Most are aware of this, but most are not aware of some of the extremely concerning and documented legal issues we had just 1 week ago regarding highly unacceptable, provenly purposeful, similar, unsolicited, and illegal influences by multiple election officials in multiple districts that, by the first-person testimony of at least 3 different election officials in just one municipality alone, affected over 100 voters. The instructions on these ballots specifically reads, vote for not more than 2 for this past school board election, yet we had multiple election officials in multiple districts instructing voters, unsolicited, to vote for 2 and make sure to vote for 2 for school board, quote unquote, according to the eyewitness testimony of multiple election officials in multiple districts I myself personally interviewed today. If you need to understand why that matters, aside from it being organized election interference, I can lay it out for you after this meeting if you wish to learn about pertinent election dynamics. In addition, election officials in Newton stated that election official Jim Koldoff and the town of Newton clerk Alyssa Grodigut, the chief election official, collectively witnessed another election official, David Estes, repeatedly tell a lot of voters to vote for 2 for school board as they were handed their ballots. Not only that, but this election official was reprimanded 3 separate times and told not to mislead voters with false and purposely misleading voting instructions starting at 10:30 a.m. Between 10:30 and 5:30 p.m., this individual defiantly continued to, at that point, without question, mislead voters purposefully with false voting directives directly against the orders of election management. Mr. Koldoff states that David Estes was defiant after being reprimanded the first time, defiant after being reprimanded the second time, and defiant after being reprimanded a third time and being told he could leave. Over 100 people unsolicited, and that is only one of the voting districts. Over in District 1 at the Silver Creek Fieldhouse location, Lisa Ann Krieger, voter number 185, as of approximately 11:30 a.m., was herself a 2024 school board candidate, decade-long IEP and community organizer and advocate, and longtime business owner, was told to make sure to vote for 2 for school board, right in front of 3 to 4 voters, 3 to 4 voters
Finish it
in
up.
front of her, and 8 to 10 voters immediately behind her.
Thanks, Jason, we appreciate it.
Thanks.
Okay, our next guest is Jeff Bell.
Hi, Jeff Bell, 529 West Lawn Boulevard. Now, the winds can blow in one of 4 directions. After this past election, I'm wondering what direction the winds within the FPSD will start blowing. Hopefully continuing towards the student proficiency improvement that you have put together. Hopefully not towards preaching to the choir that a few board members seem to do. Many thanks to Stacy for her dedication and service in leading this group in the right direction. Bob Dole, in his presidential loss in 1976, stated, "Contrary to reports that I took the loss badly, I want to state that I went home to bed last night and slept like a baby, but every 2 hours I woke up and cried." Stacy, not that you followed suit to Mr. Dole, but if you did, it was reflective of your passion for the students of MPSD. Thank you. My name is Jeff Bell, and I approve this message.
Okay, our next guest is Christine DeMay.
Christine DeMay, 2000 Johnson Drive, Lot 36, Manitowoc, Wisconsin. First off, Stacy and Tony, Matt, you guys are great. You've been doing a fantastic job. And if I had my way, you guys would be sitting tight. But the way things are right now, obviously, hopefully we won't have a huge change because we're actually moving forward, and that's good. But we have a situation where I, for one, was watching a video of one person that was supposedly voted in. And in this message, most of what I heard was pushing off onto somebody that had not lived up to his expectations. And to me, that shows on his character, because you don't pick on someone else to try and prove yourself the better person. It don't work like that. And we have a few here that like to squabble. If you don't get your point across, or you don't get your way, or whatever, you act more like children than you do like board members, and that's embarrassing. I also think that this bit with his plan of putting the handicapped all together in one situation, that's not gonna cut it for them kids. I mean, they need to be in a social atmosphere with other people. You can't put them in a location by themselves and expect them to function in society, because that doesn't happen. Last off, God is in control, and no matter who wants what here, he's watching. And he's gonna do, whether it's bad, that goes on in your good, he's gonna do his best, and good things do come out of bad situations. And thank you again, guys, for doing the work.
Thank you, Christine. Okay, our next guest is Dana Getz.
My name is Dana Getz. My address is 1346 Westwood Lane. In light of recent safety concerns regarding members of the public, I would please ask that Lisa turn off her video during my public comment.
It's public, she has to
It's
let it
on-
in.
it's on-
Legally, she can have it
All
on.
right, Ally is the Alliance for Learning and Leading Our Youth. Ally was formed in May 2022 by parents and community members wanting to protect the values for public education and the views of ideological agendas, which some sought to silence the rich diversity of students and learning styles. To date, we are at over 1,000 community members strong. Ally exists to stand in solidarity with and advocate for diverse student and staff population. Staff impact students, staff, and teachers, to partner with teachers, staff, schools, and the district to meet basic classroom and extracurricular needs that are not being funded, to encourage and mentor individuals to run for the Board of Education positions. Since our founding, our members have contributed to the following MPSD community: $200 to the Jefferson School blessing boxes in a weekly
Dana.
commitment.
No, actually, that was my fault.
Oh, sorry.
I didn't reach. Keep going, Dana. You're fine.
Okay.
Sorry.
$200 to the Jefferson School blessing boxes in a weekly commitment by members to fill blessing boxes at Jefferson School and First Presbyterian Church. $600 to student organizations. $200 to support local backpack programs to feed kids on weekends. 2 $750 scholarships for graduating seniors from the class of 2023. 1 $500 scholarship to a graduating senior in the class of 2024. $300 in supplies to the MPSD District Boutique. $3,000 for a book gifted to every 5K student. $1,800 to supplement the cost of 8th grade students to visit Washington, D.C. Cash donations to band uniforms, and a coat drive. Since our founding, our members have provided the following educational presentations: suicide prevention, understanding school and state budget as they pertain to public education, understanding a public school district referendum, education on the process for choosing curriculum, education on the CEP program. Since our founding, our members have participated in the following collaborative projects: Ally collaboration with MPSD staff to coordinate a SFA open house, Ally collaboration with Pre-Play, Ally collaboration with community organizations to supply hot chocolate and chili for the holiday parade, Ally collaboration with the Friends of the MPSD to support the 2023 referendum, Ally assistance to coordinate a meeting with the Speaker of the House, Robin Voss, at the State Capitol for the Board of Education members. Ally worked with community and state organizations to end lunch shaming and reinstate the CEP program. Ally provided confidential support and encouragement to teachers, staff, parents, and students. Ally is not a cult. Ally members are not pedophiles. Ally members are not groomers. Ally members are not communists. Ally members are not against reading. Ally members do not sexualize children. We have no posters, flyers, or stickers in any schools, and we never have, nor do we have any intention of doing so. Our donations and contributions to the community have been done seeking no recognition or advertisement. The only platform that our work is shared on and has been shared on is our own Facebook page. We are a social media group that provides a platform for civil discourse and invites active engagement from our members. To date, this is the first public address that has been made on behalf of Ally. The members of Ally kindly ask the remaining Board of Education and school administration to stop with the public shaming of Ally and its members. We are unique in our mission that our sole purpose is to support the students and staff of the MPSD. We are a group of over 1,000 individuals giving time, talent, financial resources to benefit and support marginalized students and the staff of the MPSD, and to fundraise for the often overlooked programming within the district. We look forward to the future and opportunity to partner once again with the MPSD. If we are a special interest group in the minds of some, our special interest is nothing more than supporting the students and staff of the Manitowoc Public Schools, and that is the special interest and passion of our 1,000 plus members. Thank you.
Thank you. And that was my fault. I don't apologize. I'm obviously horrible at this. I've been accused of it many
The
times.
next guest is Barbara Post.
Post 825 Wilson Street, Manitowoc. I came into this district a long time ago, 68 years old. I've lived here my whole life. Manitowoc really has not changed since that inception. I think inclusion has to be accepted in a regular, everyday practice. This will assure that all an open public education for all with no exclusions. Everybody has a seat at the table. I know I've said that like since October. And modifications need to be done by the teachers. That is not a pair's deal unless they are an associate degree or a degreed person. And I would like to know how inclusion has been implemented, because it really isn't implemented when it first came in, because I had people all over the place. And a district-wide behavior plan, that's where the whole problem started, is when I transferred in, I was doing things according to the district plan, and no one at elementary was doing that. No one wanted to do inclusion. And that's so wrong for those students because those students have teachers that are advocating for them at all levels. And I think a district-wide behavior plan makes sure everyone is on the same page, administration, everybody. And parents should not be used as teachers substituting. I don't know if that's happening, but I know it happened to me, and it's like, what am I gonna do? I knew that I had that degree, I would be okay, but there were other people in the room, and they didn't know what to do. And I can't be a substitute for a substitute because I have my own job to do. I wish people would really see these kids for who they really are. You need to listen and observe. If you haven't implemented that behavior plan across the board, you better do that as a top priority so everybody is on the same page and you don't have all these people raising these problems. I wish people would have been me, because I'm only me with those kids. I gave them all I could. I am a teacher, I'm an advocate. I want those kids to be educated. I see those kids out on the street. I go past that place where the homeless live now, and I wonder how many of those kids did I have that I could have gave them a better life. And the teachers that got dismissed that were working with me, was that because of me, because I brought in inclusion? You should be working inclusion, not putting it down. And the teacher is an advocate for all. It's often a struggle, but you must dig deep and find what truly motivates that student that you encounter, and who and what they inspire to become. Not everybody wants to be a plumber. Not everybody wants to be a manufacturer. When I ran into kids, they want to be a priest or something, or they want to work at,
Thank you, Barbara. We're gonna have to ask you.
just 1 minute, please. You need to observe, listen, and work with what they have, what they bring to the table, not what you're bringing to the table. You're advocating for their life. Your life is already decided. And I know I've been here since October, and it really hasn't changed. I'm hoping that people realize that Manitowoc has to accept all the kids.
Thank you, Barbara.
You're here working for those kids. You're not working just for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Next guest is Colin Burnell. Colin, since your address wasn't on the paperwork, could you state that for the record?
Yeah, I might as well.
Thank you.
My address is 4503 Broadway Street. My name's Colin Burnell. I'm not here to add to the toxicity that so many seem to want to include to their discussion. It seems to be the flavor that so many go to. It doesn't seem like even some of the sitting board members have, got down off the campaign trail. Results do matter. Focusing on the district does matter. And there are certain individuals here that do, do need to step off the campaign trail and get to work. While on the board, Stacy has done a great deal of work. Stacy, I'm very grateful for your leadership that you've brought to this district, the work you came in, the things that you've implemented, and the district is better for it. So thank you for that work. To those that are going to be going on to the board, I hope that they focus on results, focus on making the district better, and instead of focusing on what certain groups want them to see, want them to say, and want them to focus on, I hope that they focus on what matters. You're here for the kids, focus on that. The way that some people have treated other people in this community, it's embarrassing. Treat your people in the community a lot better. We all live here. Let's stop this crap. So with that, I just wanted to add my 2 cents. Thank you for your work. It's been a pleasure serving with you when I was on the board, and it's been a pleasure even watching after my time here. So thank you.
Thanks, Colin. Our next guest is it Claire Steffenhagen?
Yeah, okay, my writing is about. This is very hard for me because it's personal. I just wanted to mention SFA. I'm not a fan of it. All the work, the hard work from staff, the money, the time. I hope it does work, but we will not know until those standardized tests come out in fall. Okay. For 2 years, the majority of this board has brought chaos, mistrust, fear-mongering, and hate toward me personally. And I think that that will stop. I know that the new makeup of the board will be saner, kinder, more compassionate to all students, so that every student can achieve to their ability. And isn't that what a public school should do? Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. And our last guest is Braden Meyer. And Braden, if you could, you only put your, the city and state, if you could just put the rest of your address, please, just for the record, to state it, thanks.
Brian Meyer, Superintendent Water Drive. Recently, Manitowoc has been gaining attention nationwide. Usually when an area gets attention, we as citizens want it to be for something that makes our community look good. In this case, it is the opposite. Manitowoc is suffering from the attacks of our own local special interest hate group. They target schools because if they control the next generation, their anti-American propaganda encourages them to tear down the U.S. Constitution and create a new one that gives them authoritarian dictatorship. Hate groups like Ally use terms like diversity, equity, and inclusion to trick the general public. The truth about DEI policies are they result in non-diversity, inequality, and exclusion. When companies and governments start hiring people based solely on one race, one sexual orientation, one gender, or even only people claim to be the opposite gender instead of any qualifications, that is discrimination. Hate groups like Ally also misuse the phrase book ban to describe people advocating to provide children with access to only age-appropriate material and have moved pornographic books to the adult section of the libraries to keep them out of the hands of minors. They are advocates providing minors access to books with fully illustrated sex scenes involving minors. If a parent wants rights for their children, they do not care. They believe they should have control over everyone's children. Hate groups like Ally are actually okay with men entering women's bathrooms, locker rooms, and participating in women's sports. They are okay with men exposing themselves in front of women in their locker rooms. They are okay with men being present when women are changing in their locker rooms. They are okay with men playing on women's teams, knowing about the physiological advantages men have over women. Hate groups like Ally say if you do not call them by the incorrect and made-up pronouns and make the statement that gender is binary, you are their newest target. They say they believe in the First Amendment, but when they control a government board, they censor dissenting public input, yet openly allow bringing public input. This hate group has consistently called on the board to censor and correct public input they disagree with. They have gone to the extremes where someone gets public input that goes against their political agenda. They target these citizens. These citizens are harassed by this hate group through threatening mail, email, text, social media posts, showering by their houses, stealing signs of private property, driving over yard signs, and so much more. On August 18, 2022, a local elected official, Manitowoc, made a Facebook post about this hate group and its incessant hate toward him and his family. To read a small section in particular, people call my school demanding that I be disciplined or fired. I saw homophobic comments online directed at not only me, but at my husband. Because this official looked at principles over identities, he was attacked for not following personal and ideological agendas. This hate group claims to speak for the LGBT community, yet attacked his teacher and his family member for not falling in line with their demand. He has created this inherently anti-LGBT group has the goal of spreading hate speech and running hate campaigns. We even have a board member who has openly told the community he is a member of this hate group. This member has made comments at these meetings like being okay with schools forming satanic clubs. That is who Ally wants representing them. Manitowoc is now known nationwide for being the city with the groomer cult. These members are proud for the damage they have done to Manitowoc's reputation. It's time for all of us to say no to the hate and harassment originating from the hate group Ally.
Our next item is our consent agenda. Is there anything anyone wants taken off of there?
Yeah, I'd like to pull the closed meeting minutes the monthly financials and bills in the Boomerang project.
Okay, so that would leave, anything else anyone wants from? That would leave the consent agenda of the regular board meetings, payment of vouchers, monthly donation list, the personnel report, and the second read of the revised policies that were forwarded from the 3/12/24 special board meeting. Looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda. Chris?
So moved.
Second? Okay, Tony, second. Okay, all those in favor of approving the documents in the consent agenda signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, and then the first document is the special board meeting minutes, Tony.
Yeah, well, the closed meeting minutes said that I was there and I voted, and I wasn't there and I didn't vote, so I would just like those corrected.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Do I have a, so you want to make that motion, Tony?
Yeah, I'd make a motion to update the minutes to remove
I'll second that.
the language with me being there.
Seconded by Spalding. Any further discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And then we
Ma'am?
have, yes,
I'd like to move to accept it as amended then.
okay, thank you,
Since that was a motion to amend,
thank you.
and I got it accepted.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Matthew Spalding. Okay, all those in favor of the amended minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, the next item is the monthly financial report. And Tony, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, Angela and I had a conversation last week, so I'll turn it over to you if you want to speak to that a little bit.
Yes, no, we continue to meet on the financials monthly. It's a nice opportunity for us to talk more directly to Tony and share just, you know, the operations of the business office and financial reports before we present them and post them in board books. So we just mainly go over the memo that's provided. One thing with the payment of vouchers that I just wanted to mention is that we just had a payment in error on there, and that's explained just, you know, it was just a payment in error because we don't pay board members for work. And Biff, I thank him for bringing that to our attention, and just that was a miscommunication between when we get that from the high school and in processing. So I just, it looks weird because you have to, how we have to back it out of the system, but it was, you know, just something we'll work to make sure it doesn't happen again. So just wanted to share that. Happy to take any questions if there are any.
You got a whole page.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I guess we talked a little bit about just the issues with Skyward, and it sounds like we're behind us now for the most part. We're not gonna have any more
Yes.
hiccups.
Yes, definitely. You know, every payroll is gonna have just a variety of things that we have to work through. And you know, some things like this example of what we had with this payment, you know, we have a lot of, payroll has a lot of inputs of information from many various stakeholders within the district. And you know, it's one of those things where we're always working to tighten things up and make sure that we have all the correct information for payroll. And we're, you know, we've done a full review of things, all the W2Cs and everything were issued, re-reported. DCA was reported, that's other semi-financial end of year reporting. So yeah, I mean, we're just on the right path with all of that, so. Anything else? Okay, seeing no further discussion, do I have a motion to approve the monthly financial report?
Also moved.
Motion by Matt, second by Biff. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, and then we had an out-of-state travel request. And Tony, did you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, I was just curious, unless I missed something previously, that was the first I saw of that, and seemed like it was pretty pricey, so I was just trying to better understand, it seems like that's something is that being covered by a grant?
Yes. There's a grant from the state, Get Kids Ahead grant, and our district safety coordinator is linked to these programs for transitional purposes. She inquired specifically with the state or the issuer of this grant, and they indicated that this would be a good use of those funds. And it is 100% covered by the grant.
I can add to that, we budgeted to go into fund balance because we received these monies last year in the previous fiscal year. So, they sort of allow you time to spend the money, but since we already received the money, we need to do our due diligence and spend it in the way that it was intended. So that's part of it. And Katie and her team has worked very well to explore all the different ways and things that qualify. What happens with many grants, it's spend it, then get reimbursed. This is different where we've gotten the money already, but it's, I would say, even more specialized classification of expenses compared to other grants that we've received. So it's unique.
Yeah, it very much is it's a connectivity and supporting, students' connectivity and really promoting positive behavioral supports for kids in buildings. So a program like Web it's been in our district for a long time. It is a significant cost investment to train people in web training, to train our staff, and then it's basically a student mentorship program. So it supports connectivity for kids transitioning to a new level. Middle school and high school are the two levels that we have. So the grant will support that.
Is there anything on the content of the training? I mean, the link in there basically showed the schedule, but it didn't have anything detailing what they were learning and.
Yeah, we can get you what like the whole premise of Web is and why we have students trained and staff trained to support that. So we can get that to you.
That'd be great.
Okay, any other, I was gonna ask, how much was the original grant for? Katie, do you remember?
Oh gosh, Angela, it's a big one. $150,000, maybe something along those lines.
52 something, $152,067 rings a bell.
So really our goal in spending that money is really to build capacity building supports for our staff and then have that be able to reach as many students as possible. So professional development trainings like Web were programs that will have a broad lasting outreach on kids or, good use of that money. And some of the other things that you'll see come forward will be opportunities to, really touch a lot of staff, build that staff capacity, and then support a lot of students.
Is this the first expense that we've had from that grant?
This is one of the first expenditures that we'll be claiming, yeah.
Okay, we've had some conference costs, I think, throughout the early part of the year, but we'll see this go into fund balance next year just because we have until December, I believe, Katie, to.
Yes,
Okay.
December of next year.
And they have plans for all that they've been doing a wonderful job on. That all happened.
Move to approve?
Okay, second?
I got another question here, sorry. When are we gonna, or when do you have to notify them by that?
I don't know when the registration deadline is, I'm not sure. I think it is coming up, or there was an early bird pricing maybe that we were trying to get in on. I'm not sure what that registration deadline was. I do think it's coming up though.
Okay. Yeah, so speaking for myself, I would personally like to see the content of the training before approving it. So I'd like to make a motion that if we can table this until the next board meeting, and if we can get that content, I just wouldn't feel comfortable approving training that I wasn't fully in the loop on what's in there.
I'll second your sentiment, Tony, just because everything that I've looked up on this, I can't get any type of a content at all. There's nothing. It shows a schedule, a lot of frequently asked questions and things like that, but nothing as far as what they're going to be training.
Okay, so we have a motion second. Any discussion?
We can vote on it at the next meeting and vote for it then. I was ready to vote for it now because the people that are doing it and have put this together are people that I trust and respect and know in this district. So I trust that they are using this money wisely and getting into programs that are really going to help our students. That's why I was ready to move on to that. That's all. Thanks.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of tabling this until next meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye. Nay.
Very good.
Probably two.
Okay. What was Chris? I didn't.
I voted aye. I said I'm okay if we table it, but
Thank you.
it was okay to pass it too.
Okay, and then we have the student representative report.
Hello, everyone. My name is Winona Grossman, and I'm a senior at Lincoln High School. I serve as one of the alternates for Ellie, who could unfortunately not be here tonight. To start off with, I have updates on Lincoln. Juniors received their ACT scores, and underclassmen will be taking the pre-ACT tomorrow. The senior class had their first senior class meeting the other week. We have started to plan for graduation, mainly focused on the general what to expect, including location, date, dress code, etc. Our spring sports have been starting up, and we actually had a few Packers players come to school today and speak about the importance of education to the entire student body. I am thrilled to announce that we have begun to fundraise for the John Rickey Memorial Scholarship, a scholarship dedicated to honoring the memory of Mr. Rickey, a beloved teacher at Lincoln who passed away earlier this year. The scholarship is specifically designed to support students who share Mr. Rickey's passion for environmental science and will provide financial support in their pursuit of future education. I'm personally delighted to have designed the t-shirts and helped organize this initiative. It is truly heartwarming to see our school community come together to celebrate and honor the legacy of John Rickey. Student Senate is continuing to plan for the upcoming blood drive in May, and we will also be taking a trip to Madison with the AP Government class and meeting with Representative Tittle. Our school board committee also has 2 more meetings with the school board members this year. Our last meeting was with Tony and Beth. The majority of our conversation was centered around consistency throughout the whole school district. We had some very insightful conversations about how to really make our district feel like one and not individual schools. That is all I have for today. Thank you.
Very good.
Okay, the next is the report of our superintendent.
Thank you, Stacy. So the item in there, you've always wanted to have an update on our priority goals. And so we have 3 priority goals, which was circulated recently. We had third quarter results, and again, we showed another gain, substantial gain of 18 points or 58% increase from our baseline of 31% to 49%. And we were estimating for it where we had set an end of the year goal of approximately 50%. So we've already met our end of the year goal. So we're anticipating that the final quarter will be beneficial also. And we are anticipating with formative assessments that are meant to be, along with the other assessments in here that are combined to identify where kids are at relative to grade level proficiency, that we will also do well on the forward exam and the state report card, primarily in the growth area, because of where we currently are at. So that was one of the areas just sharing with you. The second thing, in terms of you recall, the CESA 10 reported out. They will be on the next board agenda too for about an hour. The full report should be available this next week, and we will circulate that as soon as we receive it. So you have that, but we'll spend about an hour at the next meeting highlighting that. And this is going to be a fairly significant agenda item that we'll come back to often. So I wanted to have that in there. The staff, the middle one, the staff culture, we were planning to review the data with you at the next board meeting, but that information all got released with public records. It's been circulated, discussed publicly. And so I'm talking with Mr. Nault. We decided not to continue our work with perceptions, in terms of school perceptions, in terms of what else they might suggest in terms of how to do that. So we're staying with what we had reported out initially in terms of what we're doing to progress. Probably the big question in all this is in terms of how do we define the direction the district is heading at. We are promoting it from the standpoint to the extent that we're attempting to move us into being student culture driven in terms of academic success. But again, I think we just need to get closer with our faculty and staff. I think some of this came about because of how we made the decision to adopt SFA, and while I feel it was really vetted, it was seen as a top-down. And I think we have to reestablish ourselves in engagement. But considering where we were at, we felt that there was that need, and I think we're showing benefits from that. But we still feel it's critically important to the extent that our teachers feel like they belong and they're part of this dialogue and decision-making.
Thanks. The next you saw in there, there were several directors' reports. And so if there's any questions about any of those reports.
I just want to say that I really appreciated having that. I know we get the in focus, we get the principals, I can't remember what that was.
Principals news.
Principals news, and you know, we get a little bit here, we get a little bit there, a little bit all collected like this was really very helpful to me, and a whole sort of about a month snapshot really helped put everything together. So I really appreciated having that. So
Yeah, and we used
How
to
it came
do
to,
that
great.
on a pretty regular basis, and I think it was the admin team that said they wanted to start doing that again, so.
thank you.
All right, any questions? Yeah, Tony?
Can you guys fill in the blanks for me a little bit on that screener language that was in there? I don't know if that's,
It might have been Heidi's.
okay. Yeah.
So we will need to adopt a universal screener that the state will tell us what it will be. And that information just isn't out yet. So
Okay.
that'll be something that as part of Act 20, the state tells us what we need to have. And every district will have the same. So they're determining what they're going to use as a state.
Right, and just in light of what we learned with the state and how they tend to pick winners and losers, would it be prudent to wait until we know that, or?
We will not, so we don't have a choice. They'll tell us what we will be using.
Right.
Yeah, so we're waiting for them to make that decision.
And maybe I read it wrong, because I thought it sounded like they wanted to hire a screener before we knew that.
I don't have her.
The way I read that, Tony, is there's just that if they do announce what it would be.
Yeah.
And, make that decision that we would get it so that we had some experience using it. It's kind of how I read that.
Okay.
But Heidi's not here. I can check with her.
Yeah, I would just
and give you a call.
Yeah, I would just make sure that we don't, obviously there was a lot of talk out there, like once we selected a curriculum and then they decided, hey, these are the 4 that you're going to be able to use, and then ours wasn't one of them. So I just want to make sure we don't make that same mistake here. If that makes sense.
Just a clarification, there isn't a restriction that others may not qualify. They were just not selected, okay? I mean, so that's one thing. The other thing that Heidi has taken initiative is she will be doing kind of a parallel. They provided a parallel guide, to be able to assess, do your own self-assessment in terms of whether things match. And she will be proactive there to make that reconciliation to see if we're in fact in alignment or if there's any issues there that we need to follow up on. So I think Heidi's taken a very proactive role there in terms of doing our own work, to parallel that as we're receiving it with this unfolding in terms of what are the requirements and how are they going to be implemented.
And I'm good with that. I think that's great. I just want to make sure, like I said, we don't jump the gun and then end up paying for it later.
So
Yeah, there'll be a
sorry.
date when it has to be implemented. So what Heidi put in here, and I just read for clarification, that our goal would be that we allocate funding to purchase that in advance before the have to date. So it'll be the one that the state tells us we have to use.
Sure.
Yeah. But she's planning on providing those Act 20 updates, and we talked about doing like a whole learning session just on that for everybody because it is so comprehensive. So that'll probably be next steps.
So the Brian Medler stuff, is that just exclusively for teachers, or could board members
For all
sneak in the back
Well,
door?
sure, you would be more
Okay,
than welcome
yeah,
to come.
okay.
Yeah. That is also a pretty incredible opportunity.
Yeah, really.
Through the grant, we would not have had this opportunity had it not been for the grant. Someone as very high profile as Brian Medler is pretty not cheap to come by. So,
Yeah, I bet.
and then I know that you had access to some of his posts and videos and his biography and some of his other resources through the Principals News. But it's a really exciting opportunity. We are working with the Capital Civic Center to host him, so we have a really great space for him to host our professional staff on that day. It'll be a really neat kickoff to the school year, but yeah, you'd be more than welcome to come.
Any other questions about director's reports? Okay, thank you. All right, our spring election results. Jim?
Yes, I believe the election results are in your packet, and so we have, of the race, we have Key Shaw, who came in first place with 34.82% of the votes. Congratulations to Key. Carrie Trask came into second with 31.63% of votes. Congratulations to you, Carrie. And Stacy came in with 27% of the vote. And besides the congratulations, I'd like to extend my personal appreciation for your leadership, Stacy. It's been enjoyable working with you. And the School Board Association also acknowledges the work of board members and appreciation for the sacrifices that are made. And so in short notice, it's very difficult to plan anything, but Lori was very significant working with the school board associations because they're always asking us, is anybody, leaving this year, to make sure that we acknowledge correctly. So we have the certificate of commendation to you, Stacy, for your 3-year term from April 2021 through April 2024.
Thank
so
you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, and then fun stuff, district activity update. There's just 2 there. Do you want to read those off, Jim, or you want me to?
You can.
Okay, so the Youth Apprenticeship Awards Night, May 15th at the Capital Civic Center. That's always a great way to honor our youth apprentices. So if you could make that, and let Lori know, of course, in case we have a quorum there. And then, of course, our quarter century and retirement celebration, May 29th at 4:30 to 7:30, and that will also be at the Capital Civic Center as well. And so that is to honor our teachers and our retirees. So again, let Lori know. All right, so we have some unfinished business, our McKinley update, and I believe Lee and Stephanie are here to give us an update on that.
Yes, thank you. We're going to really have just 2 parts to this presentation, and we shared 2 documents with you. The first is called the McKinley Academy and Alternative Programming Visioning. This document's really, and we know that you've had some of this information, when we first had the first couple of visioning sessions, that you were understood, kind of generally what came about from there. But what this document really does, through the work of Principal Boncher and her team, is starting to put the details to some of these things with schedules and curriculum and all of those sorts of things. And so tonight, this first part is really just designed to give you sort of a brief overview of those things, share the information with you. It includes such things as, performance goals, planning ahead for next year, projections on how staffing would look, collaborated with Angela and Mr. Nault around the budget and HR. So the things that are happening right now are really those first things that have to happen before we go ahead and cement in some of the things for the fall, which will mean then what's next is a lot of planning for professional development and some of the things that will have to happen before we're ready to go in the fall. So for this part, I'll turn it over to Principal Boncher, and she'll kind of just walk you through some highlights of this. And of course, we'll take any questions that you have.
Okay, I'm just going to sum up what I've talked about a little bit already. So we had 2 kind of exciting collaborative work sessions. These sessions consisted of a couple board members, Stacy and Carrie, some of our charter board members, some staff, some alternative programming members, and some Lincoln staff. Basically, brief overview, we went over the why behind, stemmed from the misconceptions that McKinley's had the lack of direction. It's kind of always been the back of the district for many years. And the need to have a strong alternative program in the community was there. That was one thing that was consistent from everybody. and the need for professional development and a really clear mission and vision and what we're gonna do for these kids along the way. After coming up with that why and what we need, we broke out into groups and did some various exercises through it that consisted of what are our common principles, what are our common values, and what are the district needs. From that, we went into a large discussion and then just highlighted the main points that every group had said. And that's where the district has started taking those big points that were common between all the groups and highlighted them and started visioning for an alternative program.
And some of just some of the highlights with the schedule, they're really looking to increase some instructional minutes. We really want to make sure that the curriculum at McKinley is aligned with high school state standards, so that the some of our performance indicators may suggest that we have to do a better job of aligning our curriculum with the standards to where they're at for grade level. And so we want to really make sure we put some time and effort into doing that. You'll also see that they'll change to a semester versus trimester, because they're going from a 5-section school, which has 3 semesters or trimesters, to really just a semester with 8 periods. So as you'll notice, the capacity for earning credits, that's typically why they use trimesters, is because a lot of times trimesters will give you more opportunities to earn credit, but that's not the case here because they were only using a 5-section trimester. So with the 8-period day that they'll be moving to, or schedule, I should say, that they'll be moving to, we'll connect those things. So that will also ease the transitions for our students between Lincoln and McKinley, that they'll be talking, they'll be on the same schedule essentially. Another thing to point out is the staffing piece for McKinley will remain pretty much the same to what it is this year, but we have put in markers for growth in the staff. We don't want to say you're hand tied here, but if our student enrollment would suggest that we require more FTE to serve students, we would make adjustments at that time. We also, as Mr. Nault had pointed out, will realize some savings without the online program as to the way it was structured for this school year. So all of this was well within the plans, and Angela also confirmed that fiscal viability was right about where she was projecting McKinley to be for next year's budget.
No, I know as far as next year, we're already above being what our minimum enrollment should be. So hopefully that will increase. So that part's looking good.
So we'll be working on here from really here on out till fall, is making sure that all these things are cemented. Stephanie's been working very hard with her staff, who's also done a really great job of taking some of these concepts and running with them creatively. She's updated the McKinley board, and they certainly know where things are and what we're planning on. And she indicates they're very supportive. And so it was just important for us to continue to keep you in the loop as to our progress that we're making. We'll be back for another update. I would say it would make sense probably in June as we end the school year, but also ramping up for that preparation over summer for another update on this. And we'd be happy to take any questions you might have about any of it.
Could you speak to a little bit to the second document? I know, that's.
Yeah, the second document, that's next, yeah. Sure. And if we're ready to move there, so I wanted to split it in 2 things. So the second piece is really, and it's the second document, McKinley Academy Future, to charter or not to charter, yes, that is the question, or at least it seems to have been recently. So I prepared this document for you to try to lay things out there really clearly about what decision is before you, and then try to give you some information, that you've been asking for around making that decision. And then what I would say is you've got time, because the notice, if we were to end the agreement, needs to be delivered by the end of June. So the hope really was at this meeting, we could do some educating around what decision's really before you, and then give you time to ruminate, ask questions, get clarification, so that potentially we would be ready to move forward and make some type of decision in May. So as you'll see here, one thing that I think is really important to clarify is that McKinley will operate under the agreement for this coming school year. And the McKinley board will remain in place and things will remain as a charter. That is going to happen per the agreement. However, moving beyond that is where your decision comes in. And you essentially have two choices. Choice number one is to choose to end the charter relationship, which would essentially end it after this next school year, at the end of the 24-25 school year, if that notice would be given before June 30th. And then we would work to transition, away from the charter to an all-encompassing ownership and responsibility of McKinley to the school district. The second choice is to take no action and to allow the charter agreement to remain in place through its expiration date, which is June of 2026. So really your decision is, are you going to continue the charter beyond next school year? Because it will then end the following school year, unless the board would take action to re-up the charter, which it also has the ability to do in that case. So if you can just take a peek, wanted just to give you a juxtaposition of what it might mean to maintain the charter versus disbanding the charter. So if you just take a look at the document, you'll see a lot of consistency here in terms of maintaining the charter. You're bringing that the autonomy and the authority to govern things like curriculum and schedules and things that would remain with the McKinley board. Fiscal oversight, support, and responsibility always comes back to us. We've been funding it at that 100% level since pretty much the early grant money that they got for beginning the charter ran out. So that would remain the same. It also means that both boards would continue to govern the charter and to essentially ensure that it's being done in a way. And I'll say this, we have work to do no matter what you do. Because if you decide to end the charter, we obviously will be taking up full oversight, ownership, monitoring, and responsibility as a school district and as a board. If you choose not to, we need, and I believe have an obligation to help our charter board navigate the waters in which they need to navigate in order for our kids to be most successful. And so I just wanted to point that out. One of the things that's often talked about is the financial impact. The benefit of having a charter is that if you so choose, you can go after dollars that are grant dollars that are specifically for charters. Now, we haven't traditionally done that. In fact, I'm not aware, at least in most recent years, of any grants that we've written as a charter. But it is out there as a possibility to look at getting some dollars that way. However, it takes a lot of organization, expertise in the area of writing grants, and that may require us to expend, as a district and its financial responsibility, expend resources for those grants to be written. So it's one of those things we have to consider carefully. So as at the bottom, I just wanted to reiterate a couple key points. If the charter remains, we'll need to create and monitor systems of accountability in relationship to the compliance to the charter agreement. There are a number of instances within the charter, at probably no fault of anyone, but the charter document remains the charter document, which probably doesn't get dusted off all that often unless we're amending it or we're taking a peek at it to find out the dates and the rules around governing it, right? So over the course of time, through probably various different positions changing and all those types of things, we have some areas of compliance issues in there, really on both parts. Not that anyone's derelict in their duties, but we have to do a better job of maintaining and making sure that we're following the charter if we have one. Aid the McKinley Academy Board to adopt policies, practices, and procedures along with curricular standards, as well as the fiscal management that will lead to an improvement in student achievement. So as I mentioned before, whatever you choose to do, we ultimately will have responsibility here to ensure the success of McKinley Academy. And I think what you've seen over the last several months is our commitment to that. And so, that's the message we want to send their board, their learning community, and our really entire community. And then lastly, I do think it's important that we take advantage of a positive of having a charter, which is to perhaps find additional revenue streams that could come from that if we do decide to keep the charter. So essentially, that's the summary of where we're at and what your choices are, and some information around that, and I'd be happy to take any questions you may have.
I'd just like to say that, you know, I have a long relationship with McKinley Academy. The thing that impressed me most about it is what it does for kids that are round pegs, you know, who need round holes, and McKinley is the good fit for them. And a lot of those kids really do flourish. And in fact, it's a way for them to kind of survive through high school and, you know, make it to the real world and have a good chance to succeed. But I must say, I'm very much encouraged that at this point, McKinley is being transformed into a coherent program, facing responsibilities that haven't been faced before, you know, really defining the program much better. I think McKinley, if anything is true, it suffered from benign neglect from the rest of the school system. And I think there was a lot of kind of make do at that point. But I think what's happening now is just an excellent process of creating the kind of program, the kind of school that was envisioned by the people that put together the charter in the first place. So you know, I'd like to thank Stephanie and even you, Lee, for you know, for really taking up the challenge and coming through.
When you talk about grants, what kind of things can that money be used for?
It really depends on the grants you're searching for. There are all, I mean, you name a topic of things, there's grants for it. Some are specific dollars that are set aside for charters, and some are, well, you can apply if you're a public school system, a charter school, or you know, they're more competitive that way. There are though dollars that are specific to charters that are out there, and we'd have to search for them. We'd have to make sure that they fit within our mission, vision, and in our direction. But it would be a failure on our part not to mention that there are those opportunities. We haven't taken advantage of those, but there are some other.
Our board members have started looking into it, and I feel, because we talked about it at the beginning of the year, and then I feel like it was a whirlwind for our board and trying to navigate everything. But it was brought up at the last meeting too, that they noticed there's quite a few grants, but we didn't get into it.
Community partnership grants, STEM-related grant, like depending your niche.
Specialty type areas. Well,
yeah.
When we added on the grade levels too, we could have got a grant for those grade levels that we didn't apply for.
I guess I was looking for innovative programming because we have kids that need different things. Just, you know, those kind of things that.
Criteria eligible usually. Yep.
Thanks.
Yep.
Do we have anybody employed in MPSD or even within the charter as well too that has experience writing these grants?
Some, our charter president said she has experience writing grants.
Okay. And in the district, you know, we've written some grants. I hate to say, I'm not a grant writer by any means, but we did facilitate a grant very recently for Washington Middle School through partnership grant, attempting to have some after-school programming brought in by the Boys and Girls Club. Now, the results of that grant are still pending, as they just told us that, oh yeah, wait, they were supposed to know by now, but we don't. They got to take some more time, some funding issues or whatever. But I mean, there's some experience in the district doing those sorts of things. Not at a huge level. We also right now have some folks working on finding some tech ed related grants, because we're really looking to ramp up our vocational education through our tech ed program. And we've recently had a conversation with CISA 6 for them to help guide us as to what possible grants might be good fits for that. So there is some experience around. I wouldn't say any of us are experts, but we can make it happen if we find the right one.
Well, and like you said, there's tons of them out there, so I think that's something we should constantly be scouring for, so.
CSIS 6 has.
Yes.
You know, it's one of their specialty areas is grants, so you can become part of that consortium a little bit, and they're very familiar with what's out there. So it's very helpful, and plus they have grant writers, you know, and what qualifies, so they're really good on that. You know, and going back to the charter, there was a substantial amount of money when they were trying to promote charters. So you could get a 3-year grant and almost fully fund that grant, all the staff, all the costs, and, you know, for a 3-year period of time. You know, that's where a lot of the money, now it's more specialty. At the last district I was at, we had environmental charters are really big. And so, you know, there's money directed to try to keep promoting and supporting that. And I think we are referencing there that we could come across too, you know, in terms of if we wanted to specialize in a particular area like STEM.
Thank you for putting the report together, guys. Would it be possible, before we have to decide which way we go, to get any more clarity on the opportunity for the grant? Like, what are the total dollars of grants out there, or at least as close as we can to it? And then what's the likelihood of us actually getting a grant if we apply for it? Because I think that would certainly be a big part of the decision-making process.
Sure.
That we would.
And Tony, so the grants we're talking about will be grants that are very independent for specific things. There's really no money left, you know, in terms of like state money that will fund the charter, so to speak. Those were when they started out. So the grants we're talking about really are those types of grants where we say, oh, hey, there's one on project-based learning, and we have a project-based program. We could write a grant for that. Or we have a STEM initiative where we're trying to get our kids involved more in this, and we could write a grant for that. So those really are the types of grants. But as Principal Boncher pointed out, that she had a conversation with her board recently about grants, and they're going to do some research. So we will definitely be able to report back to you on that prior to this decision being made.
And just to have some parallel there too, many of the things that we're talking about are also available for traditional too.
Correct.
You know, STEM is very promoted, so nothing stops us from.
Correct. Most times it could be the district that wrote the grant too.
So again, there can be things.
Only charter.
Because there is a lot of effort to promote charter.
Yeah. That's what we have to determine.
Thank you. Yeah, those wheelbarrows full of money to start these charter schools were viewed by those providing the grants as seed money. This gets you up and running. This gets you a couple years going to get your feet under you and to be successful, with the expectation that those charter schools would become self-sustaining as the grant money went down. So that was the concept when there was so much, was it's very hard to get a charter school started. Here's a chance for you to get started, and if you're successful, you should be able to become self-sustaining within a few years. It was the concept behind all that money that was going out.
But to extend that, I think that's a significant point, because that's another thing you have to be careful of, because sometimes even in the traditional, there's seed money that starts something, and sometimes we don't think, can we sustain it?
Right, absolutely.
And so you know, you really do have to understand and go eyes wide open in terms of long-range projections, in terms of sustainability of anything we want to undertake.
Sure.
I just want to back up a little bit to the alternative programming. So the two clarifications or changes that you guys have made was the 8-hour school day and then the semester instead of trimester. Is there any other things that we've done to improve to be more compliant that you could speak of in detail right now?
Yeah, so the specifically with the instructional minutes, we're going to get much closer to where the DPI needs us to be. In fact, also planning out further to get to where the DPI needs us to be for next year. So that was another area. And in terms of the curriculum, we are, you know, in the curriculum section, we really want to, as I stated before, make sure that those the curriculum in which we're teaching at McKinley is matching the level of standards that we're required to teach. And so there are standards that are board approved through obviously a lot of courses that we have at Lincoln High School that we're using to move over. And then we're going to get help from our department chairs if there's a need for helping the teachers at McKinley unpack those standards, make plans, use their resources. You know, those are all available to them.
Then my follow-up question would be, what safeguards or things that you could put in place before the meeting in June to make the vote could you present to the board so that, you know, these errors don't happen again, or that you can make sure that these things are being met so that there is oversight that's accountable?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's all about systems. So I think, you know, whether we're talking about budgeting or human resources, we want to be looking at the data each year on how to, for example, staff McKinley. And it's got to be based on student enrollment. And I just think that over time, there were some just things that we got away from. But the other thing I think is it's important for the district, the Office of Curriculum and Instruction, to be connected with McKinley in terms of even attending some of their board meetings, at times to give updates or, let them know that we're here to help them. And I think staying in tune with them in a way that we can support their governance of their charter is also an important thing. So those I think are the biggest things, are creating those systems where we put it on the calendar every year that at this time we look at this, at this time we look at this. I don't know if those were in place or not, but we're going to make sure that they are, because if you have systems in place, it doesn't matter who's in the position. It just is when it's this time of year, this is what we do. We review the curriculum or we update our standards, and we just want to make sure that's what we'll be working on with that board if it's going to continue, beyond next year and even in the interim.
I just think that it would be pertinent that we have that plan before we make the vote in June, so that we can not have problems. And I would like to see a report more than a year. That makes no sense that we would have feedback a year later from their problems. So
With everything else, I think it fell through the cracks. Just like, I think everybody was doing the best that they could without direction, and even charter should be held to higher accountability, but that was never happening either. So I think everything just got put in the.
Thank you for admitting that. That's honest of you. I just want to know how we can prevent it from happening another, so that we can make a confident vote in June, so that we don't, just kick the can down.
So what we'll do is we'll put together a timeline of different systems that we need to be monitoring to ensure our future success.
Because that would help make us make a stronger vote of confidence, and so that we don't have the same issues happen over and over again. So thank you.
But to kind of round off what you're saying, is it this board and the administration of the Manitowoc Public School District has to be more engaged than it has been? In that, holding them accountable or cooperating and collaborating with them to see that programs are up to snuff, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really a supportive relationship. And I think that's, that we have to commit ourselves to being part of it.
So if you mind me speaking, so financially, we've been supportive at 100%.
Right.
However, when we got in these pitter-patter arguments or conversations, one board went like this and the other board went like this, and we flipped the bill. So I'd like to remove those barriers and actually improve something. So that's why I'm asking for a preventative plan moving for in June, that we can actually make sure that we don't have this happen again. So it's pretty common to me.
Just to look at the timeline one more time, will the administration be bringing a recommendation about whether or not we do charter or not charter to this board?
I would.
Okay. And then the vote would be in May?
So what I would hope to do is get the board the information that they've asked for tonight in a timely manner within the next couple of weeks, so that you would be prepared to make a decision. I think if you make a decision in May, it gives us some time, because if you do decide to communicate that we're going to move forward and terminate the charter, there's some work that has to be done in terms of communicating and probably a little bit of legal help with with that communication, just to ensure that we're doing everything on the up and up in the legal way. So if it would please the board, we can get the information to you within the next couple weeks so that hopefully and it wouldn't matter which meeting in May, but in the May timeframe, we could make the decision if that's good with you.
And then help me understand once we vote on that and it goes to the other board, it's just a notification?
Correct.
Okay.
It would be a notification.
Other questions?
Yeah, I got it.
Yep, Tony?
I would just like to suggest that if we do end up keeping that charter, I would respectfully request that the current McKinley board put together a plan that they would share with us on how we're going to help raise the achievement levels in that program. And I bring that up because for those that might not be aware, this is the first year, or this current year was the first year that the state counted the McKinley numbers against our numbers. And I just want to make sure if we have that charter in place, that we're working together to raise that. If that makes sense.
Any other questions? Yeah.
I know it's our decision, but you have a board that has worked with that school for years. So how do we make this a process where they give us some input or give us ideas to help us make that decision? So it's not somebody saying you're done, it's over. I mean, they know what happens better than us in many ways. So how do we get that input before we make this decision to say?
Again, I think in a lot of ways, it's really going to depend on, they're going to have to take a look at this too and say, are we up for this? Because there's some significant changes that they're going to have to make from vetting and adopting to curriculum to, a whole host of things. So absolutely, we need to have those collaborators. And I believe at your last meeting, you even mentioned that, they're open to us coming in and help. I can be at their next meeting and help walk them through that process. But I also think it will be important for us to get a commitment from them, if they were interested in continuing that some of these things would be done, because I think, well, it'll be done by us, right? So we're going to be expending a pretty good amount of resources, time and effort. And I just want to make sure that they're up for the challenge as well.
I just know that there's some expertise on that board that we could use in making this decision. And I want to make sure that input gets to this board and, we consider what they decide.
Absolutely.
Stacy, I
Yeah.
want to say, I'm a little worried about the tone coming from members of this board, that the July deadline is a drop dead decision. I mean, they've only begun to sort of bring this thing together. We could not make a decision. It could continue as a charter school for another year, which would be a fair amount of time to see how they're doing, whether there's improvement in academic achievement, et cetera. But I'm hearing that, oh, gee, you better have your stuff together by June, because we're gonna decide. And I think that's not only hasty but slightly unfair, or maybe more than unfair.
Jim?
I would only, Carrie, to your point, I think we're in total agreement. We believe the alternative school is critically important. It's just who is overseeing and doing the work. Essentially, like we do with all our program, we take that on and do that. If we have a charter, that's their job. But we are talking about how much we're going to have to really help them. Essentially do it and let them. I mean, that's because quite often charter is initiated because somebody has submitted a proposal to you to consider this alternative, this charter, in terms of this like little niche market that they could do, and we would succeed and would be a win-win situation. It was our idea, I believe I wasn't here, our idea that this would be a good idea. I'm guessing because of all the seed money, that was available to it. And so we submitted, it was our proposal in terms of having this alternative school, but to set it up as a charter. The bottom line, I'm just saying, I think we're all on the same page about how critically important this alternative school is.
Yeah.
It's just in terms of, things to consider. How efficient is any model? And are we doing the work here through another layer, or are we doing the work just up front? But the bottom line is, I think we're all on the same page about how critical this alternative school is, and the work that they're currently looking at in terms of putting more definition to it, as you commented earlier. Just that clarity, there's just no question. I think we all believe that this is really important.
Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you guys so much for your hard work on this.
Thank you.
Okay, we have, we're gonna move to new business, and Mike, you have a couple new positions to present to us, the first two, A and B.
Yes, we're going to talk about orchestra positions, right? And I brought two guests with me. So, Principal Edie from Wilson and Principal Hoffman from the high school. And they're going to talk a little bit about orchestra.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, so we're proposing to add a second orchestra position focused at the middle schools, but really just across the district. I'm not sure if you got a chance to read the synopsis of kind of what's occurred. I'll give you the Cliff's Notes a little bit. In that, a decade or so ago, we had 3 orchestra teachers in our school district, and for various reasons, retirements mainly, those positions disappeared and were never filled again. Thus, passing the workload on to less and less people. But the enrollments of the students in the programs never really shifted. And so the burden, if you will, fell upon less people, and then of course spread out over not just the orchestra teachers. We went from 3 to 2, and then that burden filtered out to a little bit some of the band directors as well, and then we went from 2 to 1, which led us to the point about a week before school started this year, where our orchestra director came to me and said, who was doing both the middle schools as well as the high school, and said, I can't sustain this anymore. And so she left education as a whole. But she left us, and we hired a great orchestra teacher in haste. But the same is happening. We're spreading that person out significantly, and we'd like to be able to support them, and more importantly, music students, orchestra specifically. But it'll support all of our music students from across the district if we were to able to fill a position to help lighten the load, truthfully. There you go.
Anything to add? No. Yeah, go Chris.
Move to approve. Yeah, I'll second.
Second by Carrie. Okay, any discussion?
Can I speak to my?
Yes.
Not so long ago, Manitowoc was the district that produced many insightful and talented string players, horn players, not just in band, but also in orchestra. And I really think this is an opportunity for us to get back there to produce the kind of musicians that we have been proud to send out to the world and see be so successful, whether it's as a hobby or whether it's professionally, because we have many distinguished professional musicians out there. That's why.
Anybody else? Yeah, Tony.
Angela, can we make this work in the budget, or has that been accounted for?
We'll plan for, yes, we plan for it within the budget.
Any other discussion? Yeah, Biff.
I just think it's another way to have a program to draw kids to the district. Manitowoc, there aren't many schools around that have string programs anymore. So it's another way that if you're in this area and you play, we're a place where you can come and do that. I think it's a great idea. We lost a talented teacher at the beginning of the year, and we need to start building this back.
Okay, any other discussion? Right, all those in favor of the new position, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Good work.
Our next one is, SDP.
Yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about specially designed physical education, and that's under Katie's umbrella, so Katie's going to talk to that.
Sure, thanks. Specially designed physical education, also known as adaptive physical education or adaptive FIAD is just another couple of acronyms that we have over in our world of students with disabilities. So specially designed FIAD is required for students that have physical limitations, fine gross motor limitations, significant physical disabilities. A student qualifies for needing specially designed physical education through the same evaluation process as we would evaluate academic or behavioral needs. It's based on their ability or inability to really successfully or safely be part of a general education FIAD course. So you've got some information in front of you about where we have sections for students that qualify for specially designed physical education. The number of SDPE sections would be what we would need for next school year. We currently have 36 students with that service in their IEP. We are already projected at about 45 students. That does not include our numbers of 3 to 5 year olds because physical education is not a requirement for students ages 3 to 5. However, there are significant needs at that level with students with some pretty significant disabilities. So the rule says, the law says that the same amount of minutes that our students are offered general physical education or general education students, we have to provide that service for our students with disabilities. Now the way that licensure is conducted, all of our general education FIAD teachers are typically have an adaptive FIAD or a specially designed FIAD licensure in addition. So a lot of districts, and we have been one of them in the past, have cut the specially designed FIAD position and just put that responsibility on the general education teacher. Our general education FIAD teachers are doing a wonderful job right now, doing their best to provide specially designed instruction for our students with disabilities, which is very different than what a typical general education FIAD class looks like. So they're doing so in many of these circumstances simultaneously. So we have a group of 35 students playing racquetball or whatever a game is that they're playing in FIAD, and then we also have a group of students with specially designed needs who don't have the same physical ability to hold a racket or hit a ball, or so they're adapting those lessons in the moment in the same time as those general education classes. So on the second page or on the back of this would be the second page of the document, it talks about what having a teacher solely devoted to providing these services for our students with disabilities. It increases the fidelity with which we're offering these services to students. It really is giving our specially designed courses. There's an evaluation process. We're already required to monitor progress for these students and be part of IEP teams, but this person would solely case manage those duties. The other really cool thing is they would have the opportunity to go in and support our general education FIAD teachers and improve our ability to be more inclusive. So as our students are developing and growing skills, it will give them the opportunity to go in and potentially participate with some support and then help for that general education teacher to be able to make that class more inclusive for our students as they're growing their skills and abilities. So it really is just, we have an increasing need for this position. It will allow our general education FIAD teachers to have support in providing some more inclusive practices. It will also help us do some other things, provide those services to 3 and 5 year olds. So if they would have that in their IEP, we have the ability to meet those needs right now. We are not able to do that right now. It's not a requirement by the law, but it is a requirement through IDEA. So this just allows us to beef up our compliance. Katie, do I have a motion? Chris?
Move to approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second. Oh, Biff will second.
Any questions?
I have a question. Is there a difference, Katie, in how the funding happens if you're a teacher who has regular Phi Ed classes or you're a teacher who works with IEP kids? Is there a difference on how you get the funding?
Yep, so our budget would assume the cost of this professional because we can actually do some costing through Fund 27 because it's a person solely responsible for providing students the services with IEPs. Right now, I'm assuming, Angela, you do a split version, how many FTE are with? Yeah.
And based on how they're assigned and they be put that way.
Thank you. So there's enough funding in that budget then for that position?
You know, for both of these positions that are discussed, I mean, we will be building those positions into, it's not like there's something being taken out and being put in. And then with anything with Fund 27, you're always balancing that against Fund 10. So, you know, within what we have for budget projections, we can fit these positions into the budget without any issue. Yeah. Fund 27 is always balanced out by Fund 10, what's not covered by any special education categorical aids and other aids that come for special education.
Okay, thanks.
Right, any other questions?
Well, I think it'll be a good thing. That's why I would support it. I mean, it's something that's gonna improve their physical education as well. And it's also gonna improve the general ed as well because they'll be able to concentrate more on them. So, yeah, I like it.
All right, see no more discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. Okay, and then this was a fun presentation to watch. So the K-8 art curriculum proposal lead.
Thank you again. I'm being joined by Cassie Lepine, who is our K-8 department chair for art. And as you saw in the memo that I wrote, you know, we've updated you as to where we were. We were in the pilot. The pilot went very well. As you can see, we also got feedback from stakeholders, which Cassie has in her presentation. I'll just go to the cost piece of the memo. When you're buying curriculum, this is a bargain one comparatively to the ones we were buying. So wait until science comes next month. But no, this one is you're looking at a $46,000 cost, which comes to about 77 something annually, which is under $1,000 per school for the year, which is very, very good. So I'll turn it over without further ado. And by the way, Cassie and her team has done an amazing job through this whole process. They thoroughly vetted curriculum, but they also were all in on like no one sat on the sidelines. This wasn't just a couple people doing it. And she's brought her whole team around, was very creative on how to get parent input, and just did a fantastic job with this. So I'm going to turn it over to Cassie.
Good evening. First off, just thank you for your time. And then like Lee said, I'm just gonna be really brief about the Art of Ed Flex curriculum that I'm gonna talk about tonight, just so you have a little bit of a background about it. My presentation, I don't know if anyone's looking through it as we're speaking, but it kind of corresponds with what I'm going over here. So it starts off with a vision statement. And I just want to say that our vision as the Visual Arts Department is to be the beacon of creativity and artistic exploration. We're hoping that the MPSD Visual Arts become synonymous with innovation, inspiration, and the development of well-rounded individuals equipped with the skills and perspectives necessary to thrive in our global world. That's what we strive for. And so I don't want to move on here into our strategic planning, because as I said before you, I want you to know that our strategic planning started back in 2019 when our standards had changed, our Wisconsin state standards. So not only due to those standards changing, but also because of the increase of varying student needs, the continual outreach and the growth of our arts program within the MPSD.
And also the commitment to creating very effective teachers and creating programs that we're engaging for our students. Our department is seeking a recommendation for a complete K-8 art curriculum because we believe this will not only support our teachers, but it will also ensure that our students are receiving a robust and well-rounded visual arts curriculum. Our goal is to adopt a curriculum that we wanted to mirror the arts in general because art is always evolving. And so we wanted something that could keep up with the times of our visual arts, contemporary art, and digital art. And so we are looking for one that was also curated, vetted, and designed by a group of art professionals. So over the past 5 years, our department has researched countless different platforms, some like art history for kids. We've vetted art curator for kids, and we've looked into using lesson plans through Deep Space Sparkle. These are all examples of different lessons and curriculums that we have utilized. However, we feel like they fall short of what the Art of Ed has to offer as comprehensive, and they fall short of meeting our high achieving, create, and present standards. So our proposal is to adopt the Art of Ed's Flex curriculum. It's an online professional platform, so it's given to us in real time. And it's going to be able to support an art teacher through every stage of their career. The most noteworthy is the high quality and rich visual arts curriculum that was, like I said, developed for art teachers by art teachers, and it is probably the most comprehensive art curriculum to date. So it will allow us to utilize their search efforts as well to connect our visual art standards by our state. So it does also allow us to find that by our state, but it also allows us to participate in relevant professional development opportunities, including graduate courses and master's programs. So it's effective because it is completely customizable. So this is one thing that we really felt as a department, that it allowed some autonomy for ourselves as teachers, but also for our district, because it allows us to build our yearly curriculum into 100% custom classes and units using the lesson plans and the resources they have available. It will also allow us to match those state standards. There are pre-designed scope and sequences for each grade level, which will ensure that the topics and the concepts and the skills are all developmentally appropriate and sequential. And then it also provides engaging step-by-step lessons, complete with key objectives, teaching strategies, the step-by-step instructions for teachers, and visual resources. Another unique feature of the platform is that it also provides a robust library of over 2,000 lesson plans. And this is unique because they are always adding and adapting the lessons. So it's constantly changing. And this flexibility allows our teachers to curate their instruction specifically to our standards. And it's specifically because we are doing the standard-based grading model. Flex also comes with student-facing resources that are age-appropriate, they're high quality, and they're readily available. And that is a huge time saver for our department. So this allows us to access these immediately and have them available for every lesson. And Flex also offers targeted and open-ended assessments, which is very crucial with our new state standards. Part of our Connect, our Present and Respond standards do require us to make sure that we are using formative and summative assessments. So that ranges from conceptual worksheets to art appreciation activities, to writing artist statements and reflections, and includes project rubrics and even more. So another positive is that the Art of Ed, like I spoke to with the artist statements and reflections, is that it also supports our SFA reading goals through interdisciplinary vocabulary, through analytical writing, and cultural literacy. And so examples of the lesson plans and the resources that I'm speaking about can be seen in our second grade lesson that we had as our trial lesson. So I had some, there we go, it's all up there. Okay, so back in January, our elementary and middle school teachers had the opportunity then to participate in a 2-week free trial. And the elementary team focused on the second grade level doing a ceramics lesson. So what we experienced were easy to follow lessons, ready-made materials. You can see the examples that are on the slideshow. They included a process anchor chart that was available to students at their tables. The daily learning targets and success criteria were neatly outlined, and it also included a classroom video demonstration, which was very crucial because it allowed for us to play that video and then still be able to walk around the room and assist students as needed and give that contingent feedback in real time. Another big part about the literacy component is that we were also able to deepen the student understanding through that support of cross-curricular literacy goals, because it included artist biographies that talked specifically to ceramic artists. It also included self-evaluations and critiques and written reflections. And so all of those were utilized through this lesson as well. So to give you a little bit of background, our elementary art department teaching experience ranges from 10 plus years of art education experience to a brand new teachers in the classroom. So regardless of their tenure, what we have found was that we have rated this as a 95% success rate, providing the data using the student self-evaluation checklist and project rubrics. We found that the benchmarks that we were using were that the students were able to make 3 ceramic pinch pots. They had to also nest and fit inside one another. They had to demonstrate pattern or color theory, apply the application of the paint glaze, and the participation in either a self-evaluation checklist or a writing reflection was all part of how we guaranteed if they were successful. So as you can see, the results from just the different schools between, for example, Franklin and Jefferson just provide evidence that our students were very successful in this lesson, but it also allowed our teachers to have the autonomy that we still want to possess and to customize the lesson however we see fit. So moving on to the parent feedback. So per the board's request, our department took it upon ourselves to reach out to the community and talk to stakeholders regarding their philosophy on the district supporting the Art of EdFlex curriculum. So we took advantage of our annual Youth Art Series exhibit at the Rahr West Art Museum last month. And we wanted to promote the involvement of parents in the direction of our visual arts curriculum. So we did a quick survey and we received a lot of wonderful feedback, including comments from parents who stated that they highly value visual arts in their children's education, as well as they appreciate how the visual arts educates the whole child. So from the public's perspective, I am very confident in saying that the MPSD art program is very well received, and considering the 1,300 citizens that came out to view the show can also just be a test to the support of our exhibit and our program. On the next slide, you'll just see that we did receive a few responses through the survey. A lot of the feedback that we did get, though, was verbal while we were at the exhibit itself. But most people agreed strongly that they would support a visual arts curriculum. So there is more. I'll be brief. I think this is probably one of our favorite parts as visual arts educators, is that even better than the curriculum is that the other component that we really liked about this was a critical one, which is advancing our visual arts program by supporting our staff and our teachers through something called pro-learning. And pro-learning is a professional development piece that is specifically designed, once again, for art teachers by art teachers. So they advertise that it offers subject-specific and tailored content, which is 10 times more effective than general PD, than us sitting in a general PD explanation of things. So in our field, we just feel like we would have to agree with that statement. But the benefits of pro-learning is that it's an on-demand platform as well. So the nice part is that we can view it on our own time. It's readily available. And again, always adding to the professional development. They have over 200 different topics that can be discussed and to go over the teaching practices. Things that we were really excited about, enthusiastic about, because we also participated in this ProPack during our free trial, was that we were able to participate in professional development in regards to art techniques, the organization of an art room, to supporting students with trauma, to the use of formative and summative assessments in the art room. So nice wide variety of information to help us.
And then Lee already spoke on behalf of the price tag of the curriculum.
We thought we'd start with that.
Yep,
Yeah.
so, but just wanted to reiterate that they have given us the quote for 6 years, which again, like Lee had said, basically boils down to a little over $900 a year per student, or per teacher, sorry, per building. So, and that's all I have. Okay, so any questions? Sorry?
First of all, I want to say, great job, nice presentation, really, really good. And I'd like to move that we purchase this program, yeah.
Second?
I'll
I
say.
have something to say. So just from a Lincoln student perspective, I know that one of the things that I regret in my high school career was not doing an art class. And I feel like if I would have had an updated visual arts program, that would have encouraged me as a student in 8th grade to, when I had that sheet in front of me when I was signing up for classes, I definitely would have put one down. And so I really believe that when a younger student has the encouragement to start in something that they're nervous to do, especially if it's this amazing program, they're way more likely to try it out in the future. So yeah, I'm all for this program.
Thanks, Winona. That's good, but I do have a question. And it's more for Angela. I think it was within the, I don't know where it's at now, but it's within the other portion of this we're talking about. It was gonna be taken care of or paid for through this year's curriculum
That's correct.
budget? Okay.
This year's curriculum.
But it was vague as to what was gonna be. Was it just, is it this year's portion or was it the entire 46 grand was gonna be paid?
We're pulling it out of this year.
The whole thing?
Yep.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. That's
Correct. And we'll be able to also, per your approval, begin using it.
Good. Yep.
Rather than waiting.
That's, it just didn't really clarify which portion.
And in order to use it,
the whole thing, or
there's rules about spending the money in the fiscal year and using that, so we want to make sure we're complying with that.
I just have a question. When was the last time that we did a curriculum review of art?
Before my time, and I've been here
I hear Claire laugh.
7 years. It's been a long time.
Sorry.
I appreciate that, thank you.
And then, is the new cycle that we've created, is it 6 years? So this will come up again and?
Yes,
Okay.
yep, so we try to slate this so that it would come up again then in the next 6 years, because we were kind of a year early, so.
They were ahead of the game.
We
I
were.
We
remember,
let them go.
I remember Jamie saying, Art's really excited, they want to jump in. Okay. All right, any other questions, comments? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Next. Stop. Okay, so,
It's an amazing thing.
we have the first read of some policies. And the first three are various versions where they fall in the procedure manual, I'm sorry, policy manual of FMLA. The first three documents there, is there any changes, questions, amendments to any of those? No? I just had one question. I noticed, let me open one quick here. I noticed at times, Lee, there was instead of putting there, we put the, and I wasn't sure if it was a typo or if that was intentional. Because all the other modifications were, and it happens quite a bit, that's why I'm thinking maybe it was intentional. Let me find
Yeah,
one.
if you can find one, I have some of them in front of me. Ones I might have to answer questions about.
Hang on just a second.
Is there?
It was in this first one.
Do you mean like on, where it says in 343001, or on D, where it says because of serious health condition that makes the eligible staff member unable to perform the essential functions of, they crossed out his and her and they just put the position, did they mean there? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but it was,
I would
that,
think-
that is an example, but I don't know that that's the one that I'm thinking. It just, okay, here's a good example. So this is, what page this is. It just says, the staff member will be responsible for paying their portion of health insurance premiums regardless of whether the family instead of their family. So there were just a couple instances like that.
Those would have been, that would be Neola's language. We don't make those types of edits unless we as a board would amend.
Got it.
You know, then we would play on their words.
Okay.
We pretty much bring you what they have.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Yep.
Just didn't know if there was like a typo in some of theirs, because sometimes.
Well,
it's
and
there,
it can happen.
Yeah. Period.
You know, I have a question about under eligibility requirements. The first paragraph, the stricken sentence of full-time instruction staff members. Why is that being stricken out, if that's the right verb? Why is that being removed? Because it seems to me it clarifies it because it says at least 12 full months. Well, full-time staff don't work 12 full months, I don't think. So I think that the clarification you need to leave in, don't you?
Is this one related to family and medical leave?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right there.
This is the very first.
Right
this
under
is-
eligibility
this is the first
requirements.
one. Under its introduction and then goes eligibility requirements in the very first paragraph
yep.
there.
Yeah.
I would agree with you.
Do you have any insights into that, Mike? Yeah. I don't really.
I read it as they usually have to work the 12-month period before they become eligible, instead of all full-time instructional staff members are deemed to meet the 1,250 hour requirements.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I think it may mean, that it's not like you are full-time, so then you automatically, you have to work that full year in order to qualify.
Yeah, that's what I thought it meant.
Yeah.
And I thought that clarified that.
Correct, yes.
So I'm seeing now what you're talking about also, and what you're seeing is with Neola's update, they're essentially showing you what the new update looks like versus the old one. So what's happening here is in the green, you're seeing the new language, and you're seeing things stricken in red. That's really the update that's taken place in the policy. So they just want you to know what's different.
Okay.
I don't see any of the updates as being something necessarily important.
Why don't you just leave it in?
I would just motion that we leave it the way it is.
Yeah.
I think it's redundant if you just leave.
Do
it.
you?
I think so.
Well, a staff member might be confused. I mean, certainly a
I think you should just leave it the way it is.
am I not covered, I would say, and then I get to the last sentence and it says, oh yeah, you're covered. You know, you're covered because you have a certain number of hours and that equals, 12 months. So I think redundancy isn't a bad thing there.
Somebody want to make a motion to that?
I honestly think I would like to motion to keep 3430.01, and if it's the same
Yeah.
on the next one, which is 4430.01, if this is the same thing,
Yeah, it is.
I would say we just keep them exactly the way that we have them. And just, let's not do the.
Leave that sentence in, yeah.
Everything else is the same. There's really nothing that important that we need to keep in there or change. I don't like it. Just keep it the way it is. That's my motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion at all?
I just want to understand, you're moving to accept them as presented.
I'm moving that we accept and keep our current policy 3430.01 to 4430.01.
Okay.
The current policy that we have.
The old policy.
Yeah, it's not changing.
Well, you can
A
change,
bunch
you
of
can
nonsense.
change the pronouns in that later.
I don't really approve changing those either. They're all unnecessary.
Well, I think, you know, when you get to page 3, the spouses who are both employed by the district may take, I think you want to cut that out. Right? On page 3? So I would.
Looking through all of them, and I just don't. You can change that if you want. I don't care either way.
So.
Well, let's just start with the motion that's on the floor. We have a motion and a second that we basically reject this document and not change it at all, is what the motion is on the table. So do we have any further discussion about that?
I don't know, I'd like to amend it to keep the proposal except to reinsert the sentence on paragraph 1 under eligibility requirements that says all full-time instructional staff members are deemed to meet the 1,250 hour requirement. Leave that, put that back in.
I'm looking at your page 3, what you're talking about. I don't see anything.
So Carrie's asking for a friendly amendment to.
I'd like to clarify what he meant by on 3 before I accept that friendly amendment. I don't see that. Why is that not on here? I probably am not. Let me just make sure. This one, right? Or this one? Okay, let's look at that first. Oh, that's
Stacy, are we including 1630.01 in that as well?
Okay.
So it was initially set the first 3.
1630.01.
Yeah.
The motion was to keep the language the same in all 3
All 3
policies.
policies.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what the motion is.
Yeah, it's not X'd on there anyway, so it really has nothing to do with what we had anyway, honestly. In our current policy, I don't think it's in there.
Our, from the HR lens, that spouses are both employed by the district, they take a combined total of 12 weeks. That's not X'd. We are not in favor of that, because what happens is I work for the district, my spouse doesn't, we each get 12 weeks, but just because you work for the district means you only get 12 weeks.
Right.
There's a little, it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that should be taken out.
Well, it's
As it is, as it is in this.
It's not X'd in there,
this
so it really is
proposal.
not changing it. That's what I'm saying, is that I just say we keep it the same, but that's however, you guys, we can vote on this since that's on the table, but there's really nothing being changed in here other than what Carrie said to leave out, and that's why we just leave it the way it is, and it'd be the same.
So you're not accepting the friendly amendment?
Yeah.
No.
There's just, I'm looking for it, but there's one thing that HR does want changed. And right now, the current policy says that the FMLA goes from July 1 to June. No, I'm sorry. What's wrong? Goes from January 1 to December 31st. And what happens right now is that they apply for FMLA in October, November, December, and then in January, February, we have to do their FMLA paperwork all over again because it's a new time period. We want it to go from July 1 to June 30, so it kind of coincides with the school year. And I was just trying to study and couldn't find it. So, you know, so that's somewhere in there, right? Because Jennifer and I have talked about that. Let's see if I can find it.
Yeah, let's see it.
What do you guys think?
What's the downside?
Of what?
Of taking the new lanes.
Mike, I don't see that.
I'm struggling too. I don't know.
But you saw that changed as part of this process, is what you're saying?
That's what I recall.
Okay.
No, I haven't looked at these probably for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I mean, it's been so long.
If that makes it easier for you to do that, then I can pull mine back.
So we wanted to change from the current to the new ones. Okay. So it's in the old ones that way. Right, okay.
Then let's just vote on what was presented without any.
Let's just vote on this, and then if you guys want to change that language, you can resubmit that to us, just with that language change. You don't need to have a nay, you'll approve.
Here it is. Here it is right here, on amount of leave available. Thank you, Angela. If you look at amount of leave available, that's the title.
Okay.
And we Xed it right there, fiscal year running from July 1 to the following June 30. Notice we X that because we want that to be part of the policy.
Oh, yeah. That's in there, yeah.
Right. So what I'm saying is that if you voted to go with the current policy and not change anything, then we're not going to have that.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's just simplify it and vote for the,
Right, I think
Vote for what's
what's on the table right now.
yeah, right.
So all those in favor of not adopting this language and sticking with the old policies signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay, now do we have another motion?
Except what's written.
Just move for what's being
Chris?
presented.
Move to approve the policies as presented.
Yep. Is it second? Okay. Any questions on that at all, or discussion?
Did you want to leave now?
Do you want to leave
the full time?
I'm not gonna mess it up.
Or do you meet the 20?
No, I'll. All right. If somebody screws up, it's their fault.
Big time suck right there, guys.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'm understanding that we are, your motion is for all three FMLA policies, correct?
Right.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay?
No.
Okay, the next policy is the diploma deferral. I'll be looking for a motion to approve that. Motion by Matthew Spalding, is there a second? Chris? Any discussion on that or changes? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. And then we have the 5512. Are there any motions I can entertain about that document?
Motion.
Your motion, Matthew Spalding, okay. Is there a second? And what is your motion?
Motion approved.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Chris.
Sure.
Okay, any about that document or changes? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, then we have policy 8820, school day closure. I'll look for any
Motion approved.
motion to approve by Matthew Spalding. Second?
I'll second so I can have a chance to amend.
Thank you. Chris? All right, discussion, Chris?
Yes, I would ask that in the second section, where it says school closure, we add to the end of that sentence, the words "in coordination with the board president or designee." So that sentence would now read, "The district administrator may close the schools, delay the opening of schools, dismiss school early, when such alteration in the regular session is required for the protection of the health and safety of students and staff members, comma, in coordination with the board president or designee." And I would be happy to speak to that.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. And my thinking there is, this would make it absolutely in line with how we do things at the library, where the director of the library cannot summarily close the library, but has to get in touch with the board president or the vice president to to make sure, not just that there are two voices looking at this, but also somebody who is responsive to the citizenry is there to look at that decision and be answerable for it. And I just think it helps share that responsibility. Makes a stronger decision process.
I would think
Okay, so that,
he's asking for a friendly amendment, and I guess, right?
Well, I moved to approve it, and then I moved to amend it, and I'm just waiting on a second for the motion.
second to amend it.
I'll second.
Second by Viv. Okay, now any discussion about the amendment?
The only reason why I'd say I'd like to keep it as it is because, well, A, that's the way that it's been going, and we've never really had any issues with as far as the closing of the schools. Being that it can be hard for people to, what if there's a possibility of somebody not being able to get a hold of them? We don't have, as easy, as far as us as in even any of us board members, we've got our own lives. This is a volunteer position. What if they can't get a hold of them? You know what I mean? Being that he's the district administrator, whether it's any of our district administrators in the future, I mean, they've got a phone that they're required to answer, and I don't know. I just see that as something that should be solely their responsibility, but that's just my opinion.
Chris, I think it's a great idea in theory, but just the application of it might get a little muddy. That's the only thing I'm concerned about. I like the principle of it. I love. I support that. However, the practice of it might become very convoluted very quickly. So that's something that I would like to. How does it work on the library? I mean, obviously it's the library, but.
Right. It's a different reality, but it works there.
I really appreciate the fact that the district administrator, whoever it is, can make a quick decision the night before. There was, at least once or twice this year already where they had to make a decision. I'm not sure it was Jim or whoever makes the decision. They had to do it quickly the night before in order to, because that's imperative for parents. A lot of parents waking up in the morning and finding out, it took a little while to get everybody coordinated together in schools. I mean, if they have to plan for that the next day, waking up and finding out your child doesn't have school is can happen sometimes, but boy, that's a real pain in the booty for parents. To me, if they can make that call beforehand and it can be done swiftly by a competent person that we obviously feel is competent, whoever that is, I vote we keep it that way. But that's just, that's where I would stay on that. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
My concern would be about, what if they don't agree?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What if one person is a little more cavalier about the weather and just says, I think we're gonna be fine?
I don't know, Jim, if you want to speak to that, but on inclement weather days, superintendent works with the bus company. And I generally, then Jim calls me, or the superintendent calls me at 5 a.m. and then we contact with Just to Pray who sends out, so. I mean, if someone's willing to take that phone call.
Adding another person in the mix.
You're trying to get out of this?
Just saying.
There's a lot of coordination. It depends, sometimes I'm contacting the local superintendents, just that, seeing what's happening in their area. So there's a lot of monitoring this, and all of a sudden I'm on a joint phone call or something and I'm contacting transportation. I just think it could get really overly involved.
Yeah.
There's no other discussion. We'll vote on the amendment. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. It's just like being back on council.
Any opposed?
Yeah.
So we're back to the
Find another
original.
day, Chris.
Back to the original.
Now, if you had proposed to do it instead, now that would have been a different.
Yeah, right.
Who's taking the heat?
I shouldn't say that out loud. So I'll have Chris take the phone call.
You haven't voted on the proposal yet.
No, we have not. I wanted to offer one other amendment, that we, change the language in there to be a little more specific, to not necessarily weather, But that if it's gonna be a longer period of time, I don't know. I actually would say we would table this until we would be able to get some different language. My fear would be is that, you know, in the past, we've had the district administrator make decisions about our schools being closed during the pandemic for a period of time. And I think that this opens that up to happening again. And so I think that if there is, that if it has to be a prolonged thing, that the board would be part in making that decision.
You just want to add that verbiage now?
Well, I don't know what, I don't know if I can articulate it.
3 consecutive school days must need board approval. Something like that.
That's pretty good.
I would accept that as a.
Anything beyond 3
Is there-
consecutive.
I'll second
Yeah.
that.
So board approve it, does that mean we have to have a board meeting?
I'm looking for it's an emergency.
If it's an emergency, it's gonna be more than 3 consecutive days.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand what you're
Yeah.
saying, I'm just.
So good.
Maybe we add that there would have to be a special meeting of the Board of Education to approve more than 3 consecutive days.
I think that's implied.
Could you have a week of a snowstorm?
You could. You could.
Well, we can also do it
I
online.
don't think that's what you're talking about, that's just what I'm, you know.
Right. Could
I'm
we
just
make
trying
things-
to.
Well, we could just say more than a week.
Maybe we could put in the event of a non-weather related event. Part of it, right? Because I think weather related events are.
We need an attorney.
I think
That's reasonable.
all right, Tony, articulate it.
Well, couldn't you though have a, virtual meetings?
Lori's got it.
Difficult.
Yeah.
Any
Well, what
non-weather.
one so okay, well, the day, it looks like it's going to snow again. Okay,
More
I
than
guess
3 consecutive days? More than 3 consecutive days?
Needs special.
Tony, that's your friendly amendment?
I would just say a fair, fine, 3 days.
Sure.
Any non-weather related event beyond 3 days would require board approval.
Okay.
And the fact of having a special meeting or emergency special meeting is implied.
They would have to be applied.
Right.
We get board approval.
Yeah.
I will accept that friendly amendment.
And I'll second your amendment to my first. I'm lost, man. Chris.
Yeah, I think we're all, as long as the friendly amendment is there, we don't need a second on it, correct, Chris?
Right, if it's a friendly amendment.
Okay.
That really makes it part of the original.
And we already have a first and a second. Yeah, Winona,
I
you want
just
to
have a question. So what kind of event would that look like if it wasn't weather related?
Oh,
Like
well,
COVID or something?
We were speaking
Yeah.
of the COVID pandemic, how we had everything locked down. It was something that was just basically left upon the
And then
superintendent.
I also had another question about your emergency meetings. Are those mandatory to be in person?
No,
Okay.
Yeah.
Could we table this and have an attorney look at it? We're talking about kids in a building for 3 days, and I just would like the right verbiage rather than us coming up with something. I'm really uncomfortable with saying 3 days or 4 days or whatever.
So this is a amendment to the amendment?
I like it. It's very simple. This is not something that needs a legal aspect to it. I think that's, I'm okay with it. Anything more than 3 days, it's non-weather related, needs board approval. Period.
What could cause that except total tyranny by the government, right?
Right.
Are there any-
It sounds funny to some people, but it's happened in the last couple of years.
Are there any further
Carbon
discussion?
monoxide.
So- Carbon monoxide wouldn't keep you out for more than 3 days.
Any other discussion? So we have the amendment on the floor. All those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
I was an aye.
Aye. Thank you. So, so then since the amendment passes, we don't go back to the first one, correct?
No, that was a friendly amendment to the original, so.
Okay. All All right, next one is policy 8710, insurance. I would be looking for a motion regarding that. So moved by Chris. Is there a second? Move to approve.
I'll second it.
It's okay, second by Tony. Any discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And then we have the automated external defibrillators, policy 8452. Is there any motion about that policy? Chris, move to approve. Do I have a second? Okay, second by Matthew Phipps. Any discussion about that? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, and then there's about 5 suggested policy revisions that'll be coming up at the next meeting, just so you have those and are aware of those. Other business, I don't really have any remark. The only thing I was gonna ask Jim is, were you in contact with the CISA 7 about replacing our board of contact, our board of control? So we have a member that's on the board of control for the CISA 7, so the new board will have to.
And I did get a request, and I said I would anticipate that we'd want to.
Okay.
But
Perfect.
That goes on that'll be on the agenda after the organizational meeting.
Perfect. Okay, great. And future meeting dates. Set the date for the organizational meeting. It's recommended to do that prior to the next special board meeting that we have, which would be 4/23 at 5:30.
Yep.
Is that okay with anybody? Any object to that time? Okay. See, and then obviously the next meeting is our special Board of Education meeting, April 23rd, which will be right after that meeting at 6 o'clock. Okay. All right, and then we have our closed session. Board of Education will vote to convene in closed session for the purpose of considering the following matter, considering the employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the government body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. This meeting is authorized pursuant to section 19.85 subsection 1C of the Wisconsin statutes, and to discuss compensation strategies for staff. This would require a motion and a second. Motion by Chris. Second. Okay, by Carrie Trask. Okay, and a roll call vote, please.
Chris Abel.
Aye.
Viv Hansen.
Aye.
Matthew Phipps.
Aye.
Stacy Feldner.
Aye.
Matthew Spalding.
Aye.
Carrie Trask.
Aye.
Tony Hostelka.
Aye.
Okay, we are now in closed session.